Welcome back, everybody, to episode 188 of the Lookout Podcast. I am Meelz, and I am currently partnerless, but let's see if that remains for the entire episode. Not that anything crazy has happened to Jamal. He's just had, there's some time constraints with the time we have to record this, with the things that he's doing, so he may actually jump on at some point in this episode, to be real with you. But for right now, it's me. Just for the constraints of time, wanting to get an episode out. It's been multiple weeks since we finished Death Note. We talked about it. We've explored it. It has lived. It has died. It has been noted. And now it's in the past. And what we're looking forward to now, especially on the Lookout front, is all the year-end stuff. Because you see, it's already December. And I'm already looking forward to... Well, I've been looking towards this for a month. So let me, while I'm here, while I'm waiting for Jamal to potentially instant transmission himself in, let me give you the behind the scenes process on this year-end process. So I start thinking about this in November, and we kind of have the initial meeting. And initial meeting means the Lookout team has an initial meeting about okay, what do we want to talk about? Kind of how do you want to explore this? Kind of really getting into the world of content creation, which is low-key kind of tough in the anime world. This is going to be another tangent that will get back to the year-end stuff. But I feel like I don't see enough anime content, at least ones that I like on my own feed. Now, my TikTok is currently filled up with Kai Cenat and mad other shit that he's doing, because I've just been tapped into that over the holiday weekend. And then also it was just low-key just mad nigga shit. But I don't think I've seen anime podcasts, anime discussions, anime this, anime that. Low-key, we do our best and the worst of the year at the end of the day. The worst might be just a little preview. Worst low-key might be anime content. This year has not been great for voices within the community to really step forward and really establish themselves. I feel like Crunchyroll started that podcast, and it's just, I feel like I haven't heard much from it. And I got a few press releases. I think Earth Gang was on it. I think what's my man's name, Denzel Curry, was on it. I think a few other people were on it over the last year, but really I haven't gotten much yo, what's going on here? And I'm not sure if it's just purely a YouTube thing. Is it the balloon with anime? Maybe it's starting to reach its precipice, its maximus, it's whatever the hell it is. But I'm trying to really find out yo, how can we really burst in the game of this content thing? Do we need social content? Do we need more podcasts, more video podcasts? What do we kind of do? And I've been trying to figure it out. I know, Lord knows, Jamal has been on this ride with me for the last number of months, trying to figure this out of realistically, we look at the Twitter is not really a place for fresh new anime content or really anything at this point. Twitter's kind of ass. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Shout out to everyone who follows us on the Lookout Twitter. That is still largely where we post our updates, and also Instagram. But I don't think there's been a notable real community discussion about anime that's really been popping in quite some time. I think the discussions of who's stronger than who, could Naruto beat this guy, could Goku beat this guy, I low-key think all those discussions are kind of played out at this point. And what's really Twitter is kind of used for is real-time news of hey, here's this new key visual, or here's this new trailer, or here's some manga spoilers you didn't ask for, but because it's on your For You page, now you're gonna have to, pretty much listen to it. So it's so many different things that's been out, but we're trying to find like the right tinge, right taste for this anime content. And to be honest with you, it might low-key just be the podcast. Again, we're gonna do it like how we did last year. We're gonna do a best and worst of anime. We're gonna do a best and worst of manga. It'll probably be out sometime within the next 2 weeks. So you have that to look forward to. But we've been plotting for quite some time about this. So that is where my brain has been for the last number of weeks. I've just been like, what are some anime that I've been missing? I'm trying to catch up on Kagurabaki. You know the fucking John Wick, cosplaying motherfucker manga that's going to become one of the biggest anime that's ever existed of all time, surely by like 2026. Like, it's gotta be, right? Like, there's so many chapters. I have not followed up with this manga in like years, not in a significant way. Well, I don't want to say years. It's only been like 2 years since it's been out, maybe, but I don't think I've followed up on it in a significant manner in like the last year, because I am like legitimately like 40 chapters behind. So I'm trying to like sit down and it's just a pain to get through for me, because I don't really like the dialogue. But we're gonna get to that, because if you listen to other hosts on the podcast, I'm sure they absolutely love what's going on. But I can't say that for now. What else have we been trying to like figure out for this best and worst thing? We're gonna have just a bunch of content throughout the week for it. And yeah, I've just been, for literally the last number of weeks, beyond watching the Kaizenat shit and probably too much League Pass, I've just been like low-key watching Dandadan, watching Dragon Ball Daima, which we'll talk about. If Jamal pops on, we'll see if we can have a little minor Daima discussion, because there's some news with Daima that's like, especially for the Dragon Ball kind of conversation, I don't think it's really as poppin' as it possibly could be, for a number of reasons. But also, I've been watching Dandadan and just trying to like figure that out, like what that show is, where does that show fit, how am I supposed to really enjoy the show? Am I just supposed to not take it seriously? Am I supposed to take it seriously? How do I Dandadan? You know what I'm saying? Is it I'm trying to figure that out. So that's what I've been doing the last number of weeks. Let's see what else we got up here. But I'll say this, Dandadan has been incredibly successful. It has been, if you look at the news and you look at kind of like Dandadan's popularity, it has been insanely successful. Probably one of the most successful anime titles of the year. And it has done the thing where the success is there because large streaming of the series, especially on Netflix, is now leading to a large spike in the manga sales. And I have not read the Dandadan manga yet. I was waiting until this series could wrap up for me to decide, hey, do I want to continue on this manga? It looks like I absolutely will. I did not know that the creator of Dandadan was an assistant on Chainsaw Man, and that kind of makes sense. Like, low-key, that makes sense a lot. Let's see. My world has been, I'm gonna keep it buck with you for manga stuff. My manga world has been wrecked with JJK and MHA not really in it. And I'm interested to see like how I don't think Viz, honestly, or Shonen Jump or any of that really gives the views or like clicks or reads unless it's like something very, very special. But I'm interested to see how the Shonen Jump has been affected by JJK and MHA kind of like being out of the fold. Are people interested? Are people buying copies of it? Are people still enjoying this? I know Kagurabachi is pretty big, so maybe they're still tapped in because of that, but honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure this out real time. Is there really major popularity with Shonen Jump right now? Like, what's gonna be the next big title? What's gonna be the next big thing? Where did we go here? And that probably sparks a lot of the anime discussion. It's just weird, bro. I don't know if it's a social media thing. I'm going back to the social media thing. The fact that anime isn't discussed, I'm trying to figure out if it's just the way the algorithm is set up now, where it prioritizes just like content and not like actual talking, or if people just aren't talking about this shit. I'm not sure. I'm just not seeing this. I'll scroll through the lookout thing, and I'll see people post stuff, but it's not there. And now that people are also migrating to Blue Sky, which is like, is this a thing I'm gonna have to do for the lookout? Like, is lookout gonna go Blue Sky? Not sure yet. I'm kind of like trying to see how the community kind of like evolves from there, and like what benchmarks are being hit, and what like I just need to see how the community is over there first and foremost, because you know, moving from one app to another app, including another app in your Rolodex, that's really more so it. Including another app in your Rolodex of like things to like keep up with and things to post on and things to share thoughts on. I think we are at a maximum of currency of sharing about ourselves. And I think people are just starting to share less now. And that's what we're getting. Probably just like, hey, here's this screenshot of this anime and it'll do like 1 billion views, or here's this like manga thing and it'll do 1 million things. But I'm not sure if anyone else is really like tapped in like that. Let us see what's happening out here in these the anime streets. But yeah, no, realistically, like if this episode ends up being short, which it absolutely will be, this episode of the Lookout, I'm saying, it's because we're working on the stuff, the year-end anime stuff, and I would love other people's opinions on it too. Like, what was your best thing and worst thing in anime of the year? Maybe I should tap into that. Maybe I should hit up some people for some Foitsunos or something, like, because I would love to know like everybody else's thoughts, just not ours. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to like share them as well, because I think I don't know. It's important. It's important to hear what everyone else is kind of like saying and how everyone else is indulging on this. Let's see. Yeah, Loki, I'm looking through the Lookout Twitter. I don't know. It's really just, I don't know if it says more about us than anything. It's really just like anime news and like cosplayers, which I didn't know cosplayers still shared stuff on Twitter. It's not really like, I guess there's some sort of currency, but you can't really like gain anything from it. Twitter does this thing where like it pays you out now. I keep saying it's X, but fuck it. Our generation is still saying Twitter. It pays you out for your tweets, but it can't be that much. And then it also is like, it can't be worth it, to be real with you. But at least it's just like another place to post. Let me see. Let me tap Jamal and see if he's still willing to do this. I'll go to Dragon Ball Daima then, because Daima to me, and this is kind of like a preamble for what we'll end up discussing on the best and the worst, but Dragon Ball Daima, I've enjoyed it, right? And this is something, and maybe I shouldn't enjoy it, because I'm someone who, like, if I'm down for the cause, I'm down for it no matter what. Like, MHA, you probably won't get a negative review out of me. Pokemon, I will still buy the games. Dragon Ball, I'm just going to watch. It's legitimately embedded in my DNA. So you're not going to get like, I can't believe this, but I have seen that for Dragon Ball Daima. Legitimately, I've watched a few people on my timeline literally talk about Daima when it was premiered, and it was, when I say very few, I mean very few, because it was not heavily promoted, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I've seen a few people talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, they turned them into kids. It's not the same as it used to be. This like GT ripoff and blah 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 blah." And I get it. My biggest critique of it thus far has been the pacing of the show, because Dragon Ball Daima, I think with this being Akira Toriyama's last work and him being such a such in love with like adventure series, as you can tell by like the original Dragon Ball, first part of GT, maybe a couple other things, that he really wanted to incorporate the adventure aspect into the show. But I think, considering where the peaks are of just Dragon Ball as a franchise in general, it's not the adventure. It's legitimately like the fighting, the explosions, the drama, all of that other stuff. And I feel like that's one thing that Daima lacks sorely. Like, low key, I'll be watching an episode and they'll have wrapped up the plot and they're back in the ship and they're like, we're on to the next thing. And then suddenly, dun, 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 and I'm just like, bro, this is how it ends? Like, do you not want me to watch the next one? Like, low-key, Daima might be a better binge than a weekly visit or trip, because the way the show is, it's like very lax compared to most Dragon Ball. It is not a world-ending thing. Low-key, we don't even know we know the major threat of the demon universe, which ends up being what's my man's name? I forgot his name. The threat has not been threatening as of all. It's legitimately like, let's find the Dragon Balls, which is like a story that we've seen a million times before and a million times after it and stuff like that. So I'm not really pressed by Daima right now. Like, it's great for me. I love seeing the animation. I love seeing the new stuff. I love seeing how it's all been involved and incorporated and all the other stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not actually like thrilled, and I could see why people would not fall in love with it like they would fall in part to other part of the series. Let's see what else. But no, well, kind of like going back to Daima, I think Daima itself, the popularity is seemingly waning. I watched this new Totally Not Mark video, kind of like to get the skinny on like why Dragon Ball Daima is not doing as well as its predecessors have. And part of it, he says, is because of the story, but then another part of it is he's saying it's because of how it's released, essentially, especially to Western audiences, which have historically loved Daima. And when you think of a time where people should love Daima, when you think of Sparking Zero, which I guess has fallen off in popularity pretty hard at this point, and Jamal won't make it, so just this episode will just be me, but relax, he'll be back. So it is a series that should be doing well, like based on how it's done in the past, but I think he attributes its release and where you find the series, and also the subs and the dubs not being available as of yet. He attributes it to, well, it's not a solely Netflix release, so Netflix is not going to push it as hard as it does Dandadan. But for Crunchyroll, it's also not a solely Crunchyroll release, so they're not going to push it as hard as they would just a Crunchyroll exclusive series. So it's really up to Toei Animation, and I've said this because I've contacted Toei just to try to get an interview with the English voice actors, because the movie came, well, not the movie, the theater viewing, they did the first 3 episodes of it, which to me, dumb idea, low-key, because we'd already seen the first 3 episodes by the time the movie came out, and it's just showing the 3 episodes of the dub, and realistically, nothing really popping happens in the first 3 episodes. So kind of stupid, to be real with you. But they don't even have like a real promotion kind of like thing going on. I've reached out for interviews, I've heard back, and they're like, yeah, the Japanese Toei Animation group, they're really handling that, and they're not really taking interviews right now or really doing any promotion for it. So low-key, this very short series, which I'm expecting to be around 20 episodes, could kind of just live, die, breathe, and probably will be something cool for people to check out much later on after the fact, but probably won't be like a highly in-demand series to watch right now like Super, which is unfortunate because we waited so long for a new Dragon Ball series to come back. I mean, this podcast, which started off as a recapping Super and just waiting for the next part of Super to come back for essentially like 6-7 years. and we get Daima, and it's not really the force that I think we've come to expect from the product of Dragon Ball. So it's kind of interesting. I definitely tell people check out that video by Totally Not Mark, just to kind of get a view of it. But I mean, I'm still enjoying Daima. This last episode that just came out was pretty good. And then I think one thing I'll kind of like end off on this, because I have thoughts on this. So recently online, the final volume for My Hero Academia came out, and the interesting thing about the final volume is, due to the release of the weekly chapters, by all the spoiler accounts and all the fan accounts, they essentially assumed like, hey, this final volume is going to be incredibly light, like Loki, a booklet, or they're going to add more original content to this final volume. And that's exactly what they did. And I kind of really think now this should be the standard moving forward. I think to increase the sales of My Hero Academia and presenting kind of like original, unseen kind of like panels and redone and remastered panels and stuff like that, like, because every time they release a volume, Horikoshi goes in and he fixes up some, panels that he drew very hastily because he had to adhere to the weekly Shonen Jump schedule. So he goes back and he fixes up. But this is the first time since, and we thought he was done, like, and My Hero Academia ended like in fucking August. We thought he was done, but it appears he drew another 38. Like, it's essentially a whole epilogue to the end of My Hero Academia, which was already like a dope ending. So it's a full-on epilogue, kind of like about everyone kind of like recapturing old times in their adult life, and it's very dope, and it's very fan servicey, and you learn a couple new things, and you get a look at the new characters, and you get to see what your favorite characters are up to. And probably the most important or the most fun part is like the ranking system that they have involved. So kind of like show who's the number one hero in the future, and like spoilers, not spoilers, it's Mario. So shout out to that. I won't spoil you on the rest of the top 100, but it's pretty cool. And I low-key think that if you want to make these volumes really valuable, you do stuff like that. You say like, listen, we presented a elevated kind of like experience where you're going to get the epilogue, you're going to get redrawn panels, you might get some few added panels or a few like more context to the story that you kind of get. So I think low-key Horikoshi, he might have low-key started a trend, or really like presented a trend that should be followed by manga moving afterwards. Like low-key let JJK add like another 40 pages of context to a lot of the shit that happens, or the post story or something along those lines. I think that would be dope as hell. With that said, that's all I got for this week. This has kind of been the update. It's the first episode. Listen, in 188 episodes, I think this is the first episode I've actually done alone. So it's kind of interesting. But we will be back hopefully next week. But if not, you'll have the best and worst the week after that, like if we're not back next week. But until then, we're working on it. Feel free to give us explanations. Feel free to give us suggestions on what to watch and everything of that. And you know what, we'll start maybe even reaching out to people and seeing what their best and worst of anime of the year was. But until then, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, my name is Meelz. LJ, he is somewhere around, but he is currently not here, but he will be back. But yeah, don't meet us there, beat us there. So look out. See you guys next time. Peace.